map of the region, Andalusia. This is the area that Seville, one of the cities, Cordoba, the other one, Granada, and Ronda, another important city, CADIZ on the Atlantic coast, and back to Seville. So our trip will start in Seville. We will fly into Seville, and just our suggested flights are in the brochure. You can check them out, and we can talk about that at the end. And here is an aerial view of the city of Seville. It's a city of about 1 million in population, and it was one of the important cities in Roman times in the first place. Here another view. Actually, if I go back, we will see that it is founded on the just let me go back here. We see the river on the right-hand side, Guadalquivir River. That was the important, main waterway that connected Seville and Cordoba cities to the Atlantic. And that was the main trade route starting from Roman times, actually. And one of the main plazas of Seville that we are going to see, although, Seville, the historic Seville that we are going to see is in a short while, we will talk about that. And this looks quite historic, quite old, but not that much. This was built in 1928, actually, Plaza España. And this was built for the Ibero-American exposition that would take place in 1929. Of course, the architecture in the form of, just the Moorish architecture that was the signature architecture of the area. So we will start our days in Seville by visiting the Seville Cathedral. It was constructed as a mosque initially. Just as we go forward, we will see that most of the actually churches and palaces and just today's structures were initially either Roman buildings or some mosque that was built by or during the Arab conquests of Spain, starting from 8th and 9th centuries. So this is Seville Cathedral. This was built as a mosque in 1172. And then in 1248, the Christian armies, Spanish armies just took over the city and converted it into a cathedral, a Catholic cathedral. And the construction just on and off continued till 1511. And in the end, this is today the largest cathedral in the world. Before the construction of this one, that title, the largest cathedral, was Hagia Sophia in Istanbul, in Constantinople, built during the time of Byzantine Empire. But this took the title from Hagia Sophia, and we'll go in, of course, and see the cathedral and what remains of the mosque inside. And today, in addition to being the largest cathedral in the world, it also houses the tomb of Christopher Columbus. So after his death, he was interred here, and it's possible to see that. Another location we are going to see in Seville, it is a more contemporary structure, Las Setas, which means the mushrooms, it was named. Well, originally it was, they thought of naming it as a Metropole Parasol. And this is quite recent, built in 2011 by a German architect, Jürgen Mayer. And it is quite big, actually. This is a view from the top. Is about 500 feet by 250 feet. sizes and 85 feet high. And this is this claims to be the largest wooden structure in the world. It was built as an urban revival project, and it had positive and negative reviews, but it is one of the distinguishing marks of the city and an interesting place to visit. Well, a quite different place to visit than the historic locations that we are going to visit in Seville and in the other cities. This is another small palace, Casa de la Pilatos. The construction started in 1483, and it continued on and off with renovations and everything till 1530s. It was the residence of local dukes, dukes of Medinaceli, and its architecture, which is called Mudehar architecture, that expression, actually, you will see it in various other locations also. Those are the, well, after 1492, when the Islamic Caliphate, the kingdom ended, some of the Muslim artisans, they chose to stay there rather than leaving for Northern Africa. And they continued their architectural work, their ornaments and everything. And they also taught their art to the local Christian architects, and who continued with the same tradition. So that is called the Mudehar architecture, the architectural style that's continued by the Islamic artisans who stayed back and who passed the art to the locals. So we will see examples, and this is a very good example of that architectural style from the end of 15th, beginning of 16th centuries. So we will see this residence of the local dukes, and then we will have a walk in the old part of the city in Triana neighborhood. Now, Seville, this is a very pleasant city with nice streets and side street cafes. And as we see here, cobblestone streets, and we will walk around the neighborhood, have time to enjoy and have some coffee. Then we will continue our visits with Royal Alcazar. Now, this is a palace. Now, we will hear this word also, Alcazar, in quite a number of different locations. That is an Arabic word originally that is passed into Spanish. In Arabic original, Alcázar, which means either palace or fort. And since most of the palaces at the time, starting from 10th, 11th centuries, were constructed in the form of fortresses, they are fortified palaces. So the expression, just passed into Spanish as Alcazar, that denotes either a palace or a fortified palace. So this is a royal palace, a royal Alcazar, originally built in 1150 as the capital of Almohad Caliphs. And here we'll see another view of the gardens. In 1248, after the Christian conquest of Seville, it became the palace of Peter of Castile. And the plans after the 1492, when Columbus went across the Atlantic and went to Cuba and South America and found the Americas without knowing that he did, they started bringing in plants from South America. And so most of the plants decorating the garden today are or have been brought from different parts of South America, starting from the beginning of 16th century. So this is the one of the halls in the palace in Royal Alcazar, one of the main halls that the king accepted foreign emissaries, foreign ambassadors. So we see all the tile work and all the carved surfaces And this is quite a mixture of East and West that we're going to see during our visit. Another place, another palace that we are going to visit will be from a different period and in a totally different style. This is Palacio de la Condesa Labria. Now, this was the palace of a contessa. Actually, it started as the residence of some noble family, and then passed hands within different noble families. And the original structure was built in the 16th century and remodeled in 18th and 20th centuries. It has a very nice collection of antiques and Roman mosaics. So this is a quite different example than the previous one, the Royal Alcazar, and also different from the ones that we are going to see in the coming sites that we are going to visit. So it will be a quite interesting to see this collection of antiques and Roman mosaics in this historic residence of a noble family, an aristocratic family. In 1999, this place was converted into a museum, which we're going to visit. Excuse me. And being in Andalusia, being in Seville, of course, just one of our nights, we will have an opportunity to see flamenco dance and hear flamenco music. That is the signature music and dance of the region, and it goes back in the tradition of southern Spain, and this is mostly actually associated with Romani culture that started possibly from northern India, and they just walked their way all the way from Anatolia to Balkans to Central Europe and all the way to Spain. And so today also, just this Romani culture has different faces in different parts of Europe and Anatolia and today's Turkey. But flamenco is the face that it had in Andalusia in Spain, and it's going to be really a very interesting and enjoyable night, just listening to flamenco music with the flamenco dance. So this is going to be one of our nights in Seville. After our nights in Seville, we will drive to Cordoba, visiting an important Roman settlement on the way, Italica. This is a settlement from 206 BC, 206 BC, that was established by Roman General Scipio for the Italian forces in the region. We have to remember that for quite many years, quite many centuries, Iberian Peninsula, today's Spain, was under Roman domination. So it was an important, very important part of Roman Empire. So on the way, we'll have an opportunity, we'll have various opportunities to visit remnants of Roman historic sites. And this is the first one, Italica. So this is on our way to Cordoba. Visiting Italica, we will end up in Cordoba. Just outside Cordoba, we will visit another palace, Medina al-Zahara, from 10th century. In 10th century, starting from 929 AD, to be precise, Cordoba was the capital of Caliphate of Cordoba, the name. And from 929 to 1031, this caliphate, well, of course, just we talk about this Islamic culture coming in starting from 711 AD all the way to 1492. Just it wasn't a unified, caliphate, a unified Islamic kingdom that ruled here. There were various smaller kingdoms at different times, smaller principalities at different times. They were fighting against each other as they were fighting against the Spanish. So there were different capitals of small principalities, and this was one of them, the Caliphate of Cordoba. It ended in 1031 during or with a civil war. So this is what remains of that palace during the time of the capital of Caliphate of Cordoba that we are going to visit, just outside in the outskirts of the city. As we come close, this is a general view of Cordoba. And this river here, this is the very same river that is in Seville. This goes all the way to Seville and all the way to Atlantic Ocean. Now, it is interesting that this river that was Guadalquivir, this was navigable during Roman times all the way to Cordoba. From Atlantic to Cordoba, Roman ships could just sail in. But then with the alluvial deposits, it became quite shallow, and it wasn't, in Arabic times, in Islamic Caliphate times, it wasn't possible to navigate all the way here, but only to Seville, and later that also became quite impossible. So another view from, excuse me, Cordoba. This is a part of the old town. And this town also started as a Roman settlement. At the end of the Roman Empire, Visigoths occupied the place, and then came Arabs with the Islamic Caliphate. So it was during the time of the Cordoba Caliphate, it was a very important cultural center. Quite a number of Islamic philosophers and also Jewish philosophers were here, and they had their teachings here in this region. Now, the main structure, important structures we're going to see here is in Cordoba is Mezquita. The mosque cathedral that we're seeing here is quite a big structure. Mezquita is again from an Arabic word, mesquid or masjid, which means mosque, and that was also, that's one of the Arabic words that passed into Spanish as mezquita, which also today means mosque. So this is inside. We see this is the mosque part of the structure. It was built as a mosque at 784 AD, and later with the after the Spanish conquest, it was converted into a Catholic church. So it has basically two separate architectural styles in two separate parts. Now, if you had ever had the chance to visit Syria, in Damascus, the capital of Syria, the Grand Mosque of Damascus, very similar architecture, arches, the big colonnades. So what they brought here is a continuation of the architectural style that was in today's Arabic Peninsula, in today's Syria, at the beginning of the Islamic history. So this is the Catholic Church portion of the structure, after which, after 1236, it was converted into the Catholic Church, and the construction, of course, and renovations took place. So the architectural style we see here is not from 13th century, obviously. It was renovated quite a number of times. So we will have an opportunity to see both parts of the structure, the historic mosque and the Catholic Church. Another important historic site in Cordoba is Alcázar de los Reyes Cristianos, the castle of the Christian monarchs. Now, this was, as I mentioned, starting from 13th century. It's the city went into the hands of the Spanish, and they turned this castle palace that was originally built in 1328 into a their own residence. And starting from 1492, it became the primary residences of Queen Isabella of Castile and King Ferdinand II of Aragon. So those were the two important, king and queens of Spain that who managed to establish the unity of the Spanish kingdom, and who managed to give an end to the existence of Islamic caliphate and Islamic principalities in Iberian Peninsula in 1492. So in 1942, that was the end of Emirate of Granada, and this became, as I mentioned, the main residence of Spanish king and queen, surrounded by magnificent gardens. And September will really be a very nice time to visit this part of Spain with beautiful flowers and trees still green, and different fruit trees ornamenting the gardens, not only the gardens, but also the city itself. As you see here in this photo, orange trees right and left. So this is not an orange, orchard. This is in the middle of the city. We are in the middle of Cordoba, and wherever we go, orange trees and different citrus trees just ornament the place. So this neighborhood in Cordoba is this is the Jewish quarter, and we will visit the Jewish quarter and talk about the Jewish history in the region, as it was an important Jewish cultural center during the time of the Islamic Caliphate also, and an important Jewish physician and philosopher, Maimonides, who was born in 1135 here and educated here. And he was the personal physician of Saladin, the Kurdish general who fought against the Crusaders at the beginning of 13th century in today's Holy Land. So this Maimonides, born here, developed his philosophy and became a physician and everything, and then went to the Holy Land and became the physician of the Kurdish general Saladin. So this is where it all started. Now, 1492, we all talk about that. And if you remember, that was also the year, not only was the end of the Islamic Caliphate here in Iberian Peninsula, but also that was the year that the Jewish population was given the choice of either converting into Catholicism or leaving the country. So most of the Jewish population of the region had to leave in 1492, and most of them actually were accepted by Ottoman Empire at the time. So they took refuge in today's Anatolia and today's Turkey, and that was an important point in Jewish history. So we will talk about all these and see the Jewish quarters in Cordoba. And after that, after our time in Cordoba, we will drive to Granada, visiting a Renaissance town of Ubera on the way. Now, this is a nice Renaissance style town that was also an important Jewish center, and we will have a chance to visit a synagogue which was discovered and renovated quite recently. So we will walk in the old city, and we will continue our drive to Granada. This is an aerial view of Granada. It is quite high, actually, about 2,400 feet above sea level, with a population of about 230,000 people. Here we see another view. In the 13th century, it was the capital of Emirate of Granada. And again, 1492, that was the end of this Emirate of Granada. We see here the town, the old town at the, bottom of the hill, at the foot of the hill, the historic city walls here, and on top, what we see is the highlight, maybe, the highlight of our trip, that is Alhambra, the Palace of Alhambra. Now, the construction started in 1238, and Alhambra, the word again from Arabic, which can be originally Qalad al-Hamr, the red fortress. And most probably, of course, we see the red bricks that were used in the construction of the castle and of the fortress. So that it's got its name from those. And it is a big complex, and we're going to spend some time to visit all the important parks. And this is one of the main halls again, and the lion courtyard here. So the design of the palace is just quite the traditional Islamic structure, with courtyards and the residential areas surrounding the courtyards, giving privacy to different families and for offices and for the people working in the palace. For the military section. So there were all different sections of the palace. After 1492, after, just Isabella and Ferdinand gave an end to the Islamic Caliphate, they also resided here for some time. And Christopher Columbus, here again, he came here to meet Isabella and Ferdinand. And here in this palace in Alhambra, he received the royal endorsement for his expedition to what he thought would be the Indies, would be China and India. So it is here that he received his endorsement from Isabella and Ferdinand, their backings for his expeditions. In Granada, another location. Now, this is a summer palace, again from 13th century, Generalife. This is also just a little bit outside the town, just the main palace. That was two in the town. So during the summer, this was surrounded by gardens, and this was the place of choice for the caliphs and for the royal family of the time to reside. And we'll also see this Generalife palace surrounded by gardens and orchards. Spending our 2 nights in Granada, we will drive to the mountain town of Ronda, again visiting another settlement on the way. We'll end up in Ronda. We'll see the view of the town just on up on the on a hill, and this town Ronda became kind of well, historically it's an important settlement, but it's known actually for being the background to one of Ernest Hemingway's books, For Whom the Bell Tolls. The book is about the Spanish Civil War, and so just the background is here in the town of Ronda. The reason we come here is, of course, because of historic importance, but not only that, it is also one of the important wine producing regions of Spain, and Spain is, of course, well known for its especially different kinds of red wine. Surrounded by vineyards, and we'll have an opportunity to visit a winery and cellars, and we'll have a wine tasting here, tasting various local wines. This is the first one of our 2 wine tastings on this trip. And from Ronda, we will drive to Cadiz, the coastal city on the coast of the Atlantic Ocean. On the way, we will visit a Roman settlement of Claudia Bailo, and we'll end up in Cadiz in a couple of hours. And its establishment actually is now, of course, a pleasant Atlantic coastal city. Its establishment goes all the way back to 12th century, that is 1,200 years BC. And it's interesting to know that the original settlement was by the Phoenicians of today's Lebanon. So they were the trading people of the Mediterranean, and they had all trade colonies all to the north and south shores, northern Atlantic and southern European coast of Mediterranean, and they made their way all the way from today's Lebanon to just crossing the Straits of Gibraltar, coming this way, and established the first settlement here in what is today Cadiz. So this is one of the important coastal cities, beach cities, and here we see another view of the beaches. And another important thing about Cadiz is it's one of the main ports, still one of the main ports of Spain. And in 18th century, actually, it received a monopoly of trade with the Americas. So this was the main port of entry from everything that was brought from South and North America. So the city became quite rich with all that trade. And what we are going to visit in the city first will be the Mercado Central, the central market of the city. Of course, seafood is the principal, item here. We'll see all various kinds of seafood, which we are going to taste. Actually, we'll have of course, during our trip, we'll come to that at the end. But also this Mercado, this marketplace, has very nice local restaurants, and we'll have a lunch there with, fresh produce. Not only seafood, but all the fresh vegetables and fruits and of the region. It's quite lively and delicious food. And then we will continue with the old town, just walking around and enjoying the streets of Cadiz, again with the street cafes and restaurants, and we'll have some leisurely time exploring the town also. And we also have our farewell dinner here, just with sea view, delicious food of the Andalusian region of Spain. From Cadiz, now we are coming to the end of our trip. We will drive back to Seville, but of course, visiting another important location, this Jerez de la Frontera on the way. Now, this is a very pleasant town. Again, another wine region, local wineries. So we will visit another winery here. This is also the place for famous Spanish fortified red wine, the sherry. So we'll have opportunity to taste local wines and sherry. That is one thing. And also the place is known for its horse farms, the famous Spanish horses. We'll also visit a horse farm and see a show of Spanish horses. Now, I have to mention that we will, it's not certain that we'll be able to do this here. Maybe we'll do this in Ronda. They're also famous for horses. Just due to the pandemic, the schedules of all these places have changed, and their opening hours and show hours and everything. So till September, we will see how it goes. If their schedule fits into our schedule, we will have it here. Otherwise, we will visit another horse farm in Ronda a couple of days prior. So a very nice, enjoyable show of Spanish horses. So we will end up in Seville. We'll spend our night, and then we will fly back home. Of course, we talked about the highlights of the trip, the highlights, the sites, the cities, locations, but another highlight of the trip is, of course, the food. Spain is already, famous for its food, and especially this region, Andalusia, is quite famous for its tapas. Tapas, I'm sure you know, the small dishes, and most of the time, just they are translated as appetizers, which actually does them an injustice. They are really delicious, all different kinds of small dishes. And just, if you bring 2 or 3 of them together, they'll be quite a meal. So tasting all these delicious tapas with the red wine of the region, it's going to be a treat. Of course, different hot and cold dishes and stews, and it has its own culinary specialties. This is a rice dish that looks like paella, for example, but it is an Andalusian style paella with different ingredients, which is actually cooked in the oven. So that is a specialty of the region. And of course, sardines from the Atlantic, just if you are a fan of sardines, as I am, you will enjoy these grilled sardines, or in different form. But they are really delicious. Just bones and all, you can eat it, and they are all delicious. So that is one of the other tangible and tasteable highlights of our trip. So this is our 12-day, 10-night trip to Andalusia region of Spain. Now I will just stop sharing my screen and get out of this presentation. So this covers an important part of Spain that is not always covered in detail. So I'm sure you will enjoy. And if you have any questions regarding the destination or regarding the practical matters related to the trip, Amy and I will be glad to answer.
Anyone? Elias, how long has it been since you've visited the area?
Unmuted.
Okay.
You want me to mute it, and you want
Okay, so last time I was there, it has been actually a number of years now, 5 years, I would say. For the last 2.5 years, we didn't travel anyhow. We couldn't, but yeah.
Just curious, those pictures are beautiful. Y'all have a question? No?
No, it looks wonderful.
No, those pictures were just beautiful.
I know.
So in addition to, of course, just the pictures, they don't do justice. They are quite, they are photos after all, and it doesn't reflect the ambience, the liveliness, the life that is going on in the towns and the cities. That is actually the best part of the tour. the time that you're going to spend in the towns, walking around and tasting different dishes and having a coffee there, a glass of wine there. So those are the
Yeah.
details that make it more appealing.
Yeah, it looked fascinating.
I
Yeah,
have a
Diane has a
question.
question. Yes.
What kind of accommodations are there for?
Yes, they are nice hotels, a combination of 4 and 5-star hotels, all centrally located. So just, with very nice amenities. So we use, a combination of 4 and 5-star hotels. I'm sure you'll enjoy, just very nice accommodations.
Are they listed in the itinerary yet?
Well, they are not listed in the itinerary yet, but we will include them. And so you will have an opportunity also to, check them out.
And the weather should be nice that time of year.
September is one of the best times, actually. That is the harvest season. So we still have, the trees green and the flowers, summer flowers still going on. But at the same time, all the vineyards, countryside, all the vegetables and fruits and the colors are there. So it is one of the best times to visit Spain, actually. And you will see, all the fresh fruits and vegetables, delicious, and the countryside, just driving around. The scenery is very, very beautiful. And temperature, at times, depending on the location, it may go up to 80. But normally, higher 70s, I would say, during the day.
Very nice.
Say, is there a lot of fishing that occurs in the Mediterranean Sea?
Definitely, yes. A lot of fishing goes on Mediterranean and also the Atlantic coast. So along the Mediterranean side, more small, I should say, small and medium-sized fish, sardines and anchovies and mackerels, mainly groupers on the Mediterranean side, mostly. It is warmer. On the Atlantic side, also sardines, they are delicious. And partly, as you go into Atlantic, cod and, bigger fish.
Are there any marine archaeological museums, for example, in Cadiz by any chance?
No, unfortunately not. And Cadiz is not the correct place for that. Most of the underwater archaeological sites are along the coast of Mediterranean. So, to my knowledge, along the Atlantic coast, there are no marine archaeological museums.
Interesting. What else?
Well, if no one else has any questions, I guess we'll just go ahead and say good night. The info session will be posted online if you wanted to go back and take another look, and I'm sure we'll have another one as we get into the new year. Right now, we're introducing all the trips for 2023. So if you've made up your mind and want to take part in the Black Friday sale, just let me know tomorrow and we'll get that taken care of. And just keep an eye on the website for upcoming 2023 trips. We've still got other things that we're adding and lots of info sessions coming up. So I hope everyone has a good evening. As always, Elias, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for
Feel free to-
joining.
Feel free to
Thank
reach
you.
out to me if y'all have any questions.
Thank you.
All right,
All right, thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
I
Bye.
there you go. Cool.